Alrighty, guys, what we got today?
In all the years you've seen Roethlisberger in Cincinnati, does he look any different to you this year?
No, he looks better this year. No, he's playing good. It's always fun to compete against him. He's a heck of a player. I've had a lot of battles against him, and it's a fun game really to go against him because he plays at such a high level. He can get him in and out of plays and make unscripted plays. So. I thought I wouldn't see him for a while, but I guess I see him sooner than I thought.
What makes him so difficult to sack in the pocket?
He's a big guy. I mean, he can move around. You know, guys, he can move around in the pocket. He's run a couple times. You know, one time against Carolina, I think he ran for about 40 yards. He's just elusive. He's a big guy to bring down. So we got to wrap our arms, grab cloth on there on the way through in the rush, and make sure we get our hands on him.
Are some of the challenges the same as what you saw with Mahomes? I know they're different guys, but the fact that they can take a play that was one thing and make it something else?
Yeah, it's similar. Mahomes was, we kind of we did a pretty good job, I thought, taking away his first read. So he made a lot of plays with his feet getting out of the pocket, a lot of really impressive throws. But Ben's very much of that ilk, doing those things. And there's going to be 5 or 6 plays where, he may get out or slide out to the right or left and throw the ball down the field. There's a play against Jacksonville where, they were kind of struggling for a while there, and, they got a broken play, and AB's on the backside. He's kind of stopped his route, and he takes off across the field, and he throws it for a touchdown, which kind of opened the game up for him. So he's definitely a challenge.
Is he the toughest challenge as far as receivers are in terms of?
He's good. I mean, they move him around. They'll put him in the slot some, put him on the backside as the X. Do different things with him, but he's a very good route runner. He's good at the line of scrimmage as far as getting off press, and he's precise in and out of his routes. Obviously, he has good hands, and he's good after the catch. So again, we're very familiar with him as well, and I got a lot of respect for those people over there, the coaching staff and the players. They're a good organization.
Has Gareon taken that next step now? Is he no longer a rookie?
I think so. I think he's done much better. I mean, every week, it's just, in the beginning, it was just kind of getting his legs under him, coming off that injury. I think he's kind of settled into a starting corner. I think he's kind of turned the page now to the next chapter of his career.
What do you see from those specific improvements on the field? What is he doing really well?
Just his technique, his leverage, understanding, hey, if I call this coverage, most likely the way the quarterback's taught, the ball's not going to go to that side of the field. Or if we are in this coverage, it's probably going to go to you. It's going to be a tough down. And understanding those situational things that he's got to get, I think he's grown that way tremendously.
You guys have had some injuries off of the edge to get 2 new guys in here and maybe expect at least one of them to step in. What kind of challenges does that pose, and does a Mike really have to go into overdrive to get these guys ready?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, it's nothing we haven't been used to all year. So we've been having a lot of different guys in and out. Obviously, our first year here, so it's we're here. We pretty much spend the whole week here, so we're just going to ask a little bit of extra of those guys to stick around, understanding what the plan is. Hey, if you're concentrated just on this package, just know that package. So we kind of eliminate that way.
3 out of your guys' Final Four opponents all rank in the top 10 in fewest sacks allowed. Just overall, what do you want to see from the pass rush in terms of improvement?
Just try to get the guy on the ground. I mean, obviously, the numbers aren't quite there. Just continue to improve. There were some times there in the game the other day that I rushed 3 guys and decided to drop some guys in coverage. So that when I do that, they have to understand the coverage got to hold a little bit longer till the rush can get there. But if I call a blitz or a 4 or 5 man pressure, we got to get home and win the one-on-ones. When they're scripted for you to win against a back, against a tight end, against a guard, whatever it is, we got to win those one-on-ones.
Your thoughts about a player that you obviously known well over the years, Reggie Nelson, being lost for the season?
Yeah, a lot of respect for Reggie, a lot of history with him. Tremendous guy, great player. Had a great career, and again, just unfortunate he had a little nick on his shoulder there where he couldn't continue to go the journey with us. But our thoughts are, we're obviously we keep him in our minds at all times for sure. But tremendous leader in our locker room, tremendous guy for the younger players.
It looks like there's only 3 kind of healthy safeties unless Meander can play there. Is that what your emergency?
He's a good-looking prospect. I mean, we're going to try to catch him up to speed quickly as possible. He's a big guy who can run, who can hit. He can cover some space back there for us. So we're schooling him up much like the D lineman. we are with the guys who just got here. So again, we could have certain packages for him if he's up and available.
What do you like about Ben Whitgreen?
Well, Ben, I had him in Cincinnati last year. We kind of cut him there at the last cut. We decided between him and another guy who could play safety, corner, and nickel, and had a little bit more value on special teams. So I'm familiar with him. He's a smart guy who can play corner, nickel, play safety at times. So to have a guy like that this late in the season to come in and kind of understand, when I showed him the install of our defense, he kind of remembered it right away. So it's a good guy to be able to pick up at this point.
From a scheme standpoint, Paul, how important is it to have a practice squad guy like Rico Gafford, who one week can be Lamar Jackson, the next be Tyreek Evans, this week be Antonio Brown? How important is that for you to scheme against somebody like that?
It's good. I mean, anytime you can have a young guy who can really work on what he's trying to work on and have that speed in practice is critical, because it's hard sometimes to match the speed of the game with some of the guys, and he's the guy we have on our practice squad who can give us those things. So it helped us tremendously.
Master impressionist, I guess. Kind of
yeah, exactly.
Seen a lot of Raider teams over the years when they get to the last quarter of the season and they're not in the playoff race, and you go in there and not just on the field but in the locker room. It's almost like almost like a funeral atmosphere because the season's kind of winding down. It's not going well. Don't really sense that here with these guys, and I'm just curious as to.
Yeah.
I know you're not used to your teams in Cincinnati were usually contending. So what tricks? What do you do to make sure that the things stay upbeat and as positive as you can?
Honestly, we really haven't had any. The energy at practice is, again, I've been part of teams that have been to the playoffs, and I think it was 2010 we started off the season 0-10, and that was hard. But again, that was hard from a team that had used to been going to the playoffs to have that kind of season. But here, I feel like these guys come to work every day. They're energetic at practice. They're mastering the game plan. They're asking questions. So I haven't really had to feel that as a coach. Sometimes, you got to kind of lead the charge with that stuff, especially if there's a lot of new guys here. And I felt like these guys have come out and been energetic at practice. And again, it's easy to say, "Oh, woe is me. We come out here and not practice hard," but that's not the case here. And for some reason or another, it speaks to the volume of the guys that are in the locker room.
So you don't find that as coaches,
No.
you guys have to really, all right, we have to approach it this way to make sure that.
Honestly, I've had it with other teams who I've been around, yes, but this team, no.
What did you guys like about Demontre Moore, the guy who was kind of out of football here for the?
Yeah, I mean, we had him in earlier. We watched his tape. He's both good in the run and the pass game. So he's a guy to add some juice off the edge. And again, there's not a lot of guys available in December that can do that. So we're fortunate enough that he was still out there to be able to pick him up and bring him in.
How much are these final 4 weeks for a guy like him, for a guy like Coney Ely, seeing whether or not these guys can be part of things long term?
Yeah, not only those guys, but a lot of the guys, really. That's, the last, really the season, the last 4 games in particular, with the guys that are here now and are healthy, that we get a good look and evaluation of those guys. So, we get done in January, we can sit down and say, okay, here's the guys that, we think should stay, and here's the guys that we got to move on from and pick up areas and those needs. So it'll be a good litmus test for those guys.
A couple more guys.
There was a touchdown pass that past Sunday where Nick Nelson was pointing and Darrell Worley was pointing, and they were pointing the same guy. They covered the same guy, and then the touchdown over the middle. Clear miscommunication. What exactly happened there?
On which touchdown you speaking of?
It was a short touchdown to the left side. Nick Nelson trailed a guy. He and Worley, I think, were kind of, it was like a bunch formation.
Yeah.
And there was just wrong. They got crossed up.
Yeah.
I guess how does that sort of thing happen?
It's just miscommunication between those two guys. I mean, a young player in there. So again, that's some of the learning curves that we're going to have to go through with those guys, especially at the nickel spot. I mean, it's such an important spot for us. Nick's been in there for a few games now, so hopefully as we go on, he doesn't make those kind of mistakes.
Same thing happened with Crabtree in Baltimore, same kind of deal?
No, that was more of a depth issue. I mean, where we were on the field. I mean, in the red zone, typically you play halfway between where, if the ball's at the 10, you line up at the 5. If the ball's at the 8, line up at the 4, you line up halfway. And Darrell just happened to be 9 yards off the guy. And I mean, you're going to give up every throw there. And it's something that we harp on all the time. And, he came off the field and he didn't realize how deep he was. And it's 3rd and 8, so, you're going to give up an out, you're going to give up a slant. So you got to understand where you are in the field and the spacing of the route concept you're going to get.